नमस्कार दोस्तों, हर संडे की तरह आज भी आपके साथ हाजिर हूँ। जैसे मैंने पिछले संडे को बताया था कि जो 6 फरवरी का मेरा पोस्ट होगा वो बजट के बारे में होगा और वही फैंटास्टिक पोस्ट आपके लिए ख़ास लाया हूँ। मैंने जिस इकोनॉमिस्ट से बात करने की कोशिश की है या जिनसे मैं बात करने वाला हूँ, उनका नाम मैंने आपको बताया नहीं था। ये बहुत ही बड़ी हस्ती है इकोनॉमिक्स के क्षेत्र में, बैंकिंग के क्षेत्र में। इनका नाम है डॉक्टर विनायक जी गोविलकर। इनका अगर मैं सीवी पढ़ता हूँ तो बहुत बड़ा है, लेकिन इतना कहना काफ़ी होगा कि चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है, डॉक्टरेट है, प्रिंसिपल रह चुके हैं और 40 साल से प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं। 30-35 किताबें लिखी है, 600 के ऊपर आर्टिकल्स लिखे हैं और नासिक में इनकी प्रैक्टिस चलती है और ये बहुत सारे संस्थाओं से जुड़ चुके हैं। और इनके बारे में अगर कहा जाए तो ये होगा कि मैं इनको कम से कम 10-12 साल से जानता हूँ। मैंने इनका एक पहला प्रोग्राम 2011-12 में कोल्हापुर में करवाया था, जब वो प्रोफेशनल मीट की हमने पहला एक प्रोग्राम कोल्हापुर में जब करवाया था, तब एफडीआई के बारे में बात करने के लिए वो उस वक्त वहाँ पे आए हुए थे। उसके बाद में बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम इन्होंने हमारे साथ भी किए, मेरे बैंक के साथ भी किए। लेकिन आज मैं उनसे जो बात करने वाला हूँ वो ये आपका बजट जो है 2022 का, जो निर्मला जी ने प्रेजेंट किया 1 फरवरी को, उसके बारे में चर्चा है। और मेरी इसमें साथ देने वाले हैं श्री धनंजय जी गोखले, जो खुद चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है और आईसीआई संस्था से जुड़े हुए हैं। वो भी कई आर्टिकल्स लिखते हैं, इंस्टीट्यूट में भी आर्टिकल लिखते हैं, सेशंस भी लेते हैं। ऐसे हम दोनों ने डॉक्टर गोविलकर जी से बजट के बारे में बात की। आपने देखा होगा कि पिछले 5-6 दिनों में बहुत सारे बजट के ऊपर स्पीचेस हुए हैं, सेशंस हुए हैं, सेमिनार्स हुए हैं, लेकिन ऐसा कोई सेमिनार मैंने देखा नहीं है कि जो बैंकों के बारे में, बजट में बैंकों के लिए क्या है और व्हाट आर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ बजट विच आर इम्पैक्टिंग द बैंकिंग सेक्टर, ऐसा स्पेसिफिक प्रोग्राम मैंने कहीं देखा नहीं है। तो हमने पूरा सोच विचार करके डॉक्टर जी से बात की कि हम लोग जो बजट का इम्पैक्ट बैंकिंग में है उसके बारे में हम लोग बात करना चाहते हैं। आज का ये जो वीडियो है ये पार्ट 1 है। डॉक्टर जी की सरलता ये है कि वो बिल्कुल आसान भाषा में कितना भी कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रॉब्लम हो या इशू हो, वो बड़ी आसानी से समझाते हैं और उनका क्लैरिफिकेशन बिल्कुल आसानी से समझ में आ जाता है। तो मैंने उनसे दरख्वास्त की कि भाई सर, ये सवाल जवाब शुरू होने के पहले हम लोग कुछ बेसिक कंसेप्ट क्लियर करवाना चाहते हैं। एज एन अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंकर वी शुड अंडरस्टैंड what is budget, what is deficit, all those things. So he has spoken 5 minutes beautifully, and then he has responded to some 20 odd questions which have been picked up on the basis of budget announcements which would be impacting the financial sector or rather the banking sector. His explanation, his presumptions are fantastic. His view about the budget is also fantastic, and in fact this is one of the shortest budget speech that the Nirmala ji has made. But then the beauty is in its unraveling. Here is Dr. Govilkar who is going to unravel the budget for bankers. So you will not find a generic comment about the budget, but the specific about the banking related issues have been discussed here. Enjoy the part 1, and on next Sunday you will have part 2 of this conversation, which will be around 45-50 minutes. This will be around 35-40 minutes. Reuse the text that he is speaking for your advantage, so that you can position yourself in a proper way, understand the impact thoroughly well. I of course cannot thank Dr. Ji, because he has always been a giver to the society, and myself and Dhananjay cherished his talks and his views, and I'm sharing those talks which were shot in his office at Nasik. So enjoy. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to my channel, do share, and ensure that all your cooperative banking colleagues are also enjoy the views which are being expressed. Thank you so much for watching. नमस्कार दोस्तों, आज हमारे साथ डॉक्टर विनायक गोविलकर जी जुड़ गए हैं, जो खुद चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है। जैसा कि मैंने उनके इंट्रोडक्शन में बताया था कि बहुत ही नामचीन हस्ती है और इकोनॉमिक्स, फाइनेंस, रेगुलेशन एंड बजट, इस विषय के बारे में उनकी जानकारी बहुत बढ़िया तरीके की है। So we'll be talking to him with the specific questions about the budget which was declared by Nirmala Sitharaman ji on 1st of February. Mind you, the questions we intend to ask would be the ones which are affecting the banking sector. And along with Dr. Govilkar, we also have Mr. Dhananjay Gokhale, who is a chartered accountant and works on various committees of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He will also be asking a couple of questions which are affecting the bankers. Or what I would say is that what bankers should know from this particular budget. Sir, my first question will be, before you start talking on the budget 2022, I would like you to explain couple of concepts which are very crucial and which the banker must understand as to what these words specifically mean. For example, what do you understand by the budget deficit? What is a fiscal policy? What is a fiscal deficit? All these technical terms, normally bankers don't go and study and visit and try to understand. But then if you spend a few minutes on a couple of these concepts, whatever you will talk on the budget will be better understood by the entire banking fraternity and all the viewers of this channel. Sir.
At the outset, let me thank you people for giving me this opportunity, I say, to be with so many cooperative bankers, maybe directors, maybe officers, and those who are working in the cooperative banks, for the upliftment of the society. And I am also thankful for a long introduction that you have given for me. Coming to the budget of 22, as you rightly said, let us first have clarification on some of the concepts used in the budget.
Yes, sir.
Budget is a routine process, I may say, which comes every year. Though it is the annual event, it's a part and parcel of the fiscal policy of the country. So fiscal policy is a broader concept and budget is a part of that. The term fisc refers to the government's income and expenditure. So any policy which is related to the government's revenue and government's expenditure is termed as fiscal policy. Normally these two do not match. That is, receipts of the government and the expenditure of the government, they do not match. There is always, I may say, a deficit.
Okay.
So the difference between these two, the amount by which expenditure is more than the receipts, is called as deficit in short, which is very commonly understood by everybody. But this deficit is of different types.
Okay.
Because the receipts are different types and expenditure, that is also of different types. Like some receipts are revenue receipts, whereas some receipts are capital receipts. Some expenses are of revenue nature, some expenses are of capital nature. And to make it simple, you see, in our family budget also we have revenue expenditure and capital expenditure.
Right.
Our daily milk, daily vegetables, rent paid, electricity bill paid, newspaper bill paid, all this is revenue because it is recurring.
Okay.
It gives a very short period of time. It doesn't create any asset. It is never encashable.
Okay.
That expenditure is called as revenue expenditure. And this is applicable to business also. But some other type of expenditure, like in our family budget, we buy a scooter, we buy refrigerator, we buy, say for example, air conditioner, we buy a vehicle. all this is of different type. This is non-recurring. It gives us the benefit that we derive from this expenditure is a long period of benefit. It creates an asset and that is encashable. So any expenditure of this type is called as capital expenditure. So in the business also it is the same. In banking also it is the same. Some expenses are recurring, like you pay the salaries to the staff, like you pay the rent, like you pay the telephone bill, like you pay electricity bill. All this is recurring. This is revenue expenditure. Same is true for government. So some expenditure is for running the activity, routine activities. For government also, that expenditure is termed as revenue expenditure. Whereas some other expenditure which creates an asset, which creates some infrastructure, which gives a long period of benefit, that is called as capital expenditure. So same is true for your receipts. Some receipts are recurring. Like for example, tax paid, income tax paid to the government. You have to pay the tax every year. So that is revenue. Whereas if government, for example, by way of disinvestment, sell some asset and get some money, that becomes capital receipt. So in the budget, when the receipts are enlisted, they are enlisted in two groups. One group is called as revenue receipts, another group is called as capital receipts. And expenditure also, it is capital expenditure and revenue expenditure.
Okay.
And hence, the budget will give you two different types of deficits. Revenue receipts compared with revenue expenditure will give you revenue deficit or surplus.
Okay.
And same is true for capital expenditure and capital receipts. A total of this will give you budget deficit.
Okay.
It is as simple as that.
Okay.
Now you may think, then what should be better? What is good? Which deficit is good? Which deficit is bad? How to evaluate the budget? Whether this budget is good or bad, so far as this deficit is concerned. Well, any deficit, I may say, one has to take precaution while having a deficit budget. Because when there is a deficit, friends, you have either to borrow to meet that deficit, or you have to print the currency to meet that deficit. And both these ways of meeting the deficit have some problems.
Okay.
For example, if government keeps on borrowing, because the deficit is more, government is borrowing more. When government borrows, it goes without saying that government borrows money. Money is a commodity. So this commodity also has price. Like you buy any commodity, you pay the price. Same is true for money. When you borrow money, you have to pay the price for it, and that price is in the form of interest.
Okay.
So when government borrows more, the demand for money is more, supply remaining constant, prices will shoot up. So interest rate will go up.
Okay.
And when interest rates are high, we know that business activities are adversely affected. This is the, I may say, problem for more borrowing. If government does not resort to this and government goes for printing more money, then what will happen? Money supply will be more. When supply is more, naturally demand will be more in the market. Because when money in the hands of the people is more, they have more purchasing power. With this more purchasing power, they will place more demand in the market. And when there is more demand in the market, needless to say, the price level of all commodities will go. That is called as inflation.
Okay.
So both these things are bad. Hence, government has to keep that deficit under control. Now the question is, which deficit then? Because if you have to have a developing economy, well, government has to spend. Without that, government will not be able to push the development activities. So deficit is going to be there, or is not bad in the development stage. Then what is to be done? Which deficit? Our again family budget will tell you what we plan is, if my salary is 1 lakh of rupees, I see, salary is revenue receipt. I see that my regular expenses, which are revenue expenses, are less than 1 lakh. And I should be able to save something for what? for my capital expenses. Like I plan, this Diwali I will buy a refrigerator for which I need, for example, 25,000 rupees. So I will plan it. For 12 months I will save 2,000 rupees. And saving means having surplus revenue budget.
Okay.
So I will have revenue surplus. From that I will meet capital expenditure need.
Okay.
In short, to say it in technical terms, there should be a revenue surplus and there should be a capital deficit.
Okay. Okay.
If that is done, then the budget is good. I think I have explained few of the concepts
yes,
in the budget.
Having said that, अभी ये जो 1 तारीख को जो बजट आया, निर्मला सीतारामन ने जो पेश किया बजट, वो बजट देख के आपको क्या लगता है? वो सही है, गलत है, देश हित में है, या फिर आपका ओवरऑल व्यू इस बजट के बारे में क्या है? फिर हम लोग बैंकिंग स्पेसिफिक और बैंकिंग रिलेटेड क्यूरीज के ऊपर जाएंगे. तो ये बजट का ओवरऑल व्यू आपका क्या हो सकता है, उसके ऊपर कुछ आप कहेंगे तो?
सबसे डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन ये रहता है कभी भी कि भाई ये बजट आप कैसे देखते हैं, बिकॉज द बजट इज प्रेजेंटेड इन द पार्लियामेंट विच इज फॉर 90 minutes and it is a bunch of few hundred pages and it is expected that I should comment in a minute. It's very difficult, but still I will try. Basically this budget has a very bad background of COVID. Second thing, crude oil prices are rising, which is going to affect our economy on a very large scale because we import oil on a very large scale. Thirdly, there is rise in the inflation all over the world. Fourthly, US is changing its monetary stance and that is also going to affect the economies of different countries. So these were some, and reduction in the employment opportunities. These were some of the challenges. On the background of this, the budget was supposed to be presented. And one more precaution, there are elections in 5 states which are important. And therefore it was expected that it will be an election budget. But we have noticed that even the opposition parties could not find a single point saying that this is election budget. So it is a budget which is not only a statement of receipts and payments. हम लोग इसको हिंदी में अंदाज पत्रक भी बोलते हैं और अर्थसंकल्प भी बोलते हैं. So it is not only अंदाज पत्रक stating receipts and payments, but it is sankalpa in the real sense of the term. What we are going to do in coming 25 years of time. So this is looking forward, setting some goals for coming 25 years, taking few radical decisions like sovereign green bonds, like digital currency, like electronic vehicle ecosystem, like Kisan drone, or taking drones as a service. These are very bold decisions that have been taken. And the budget does not concentrate only on physical infrastructure, but it is concentrating on soft infrastructure also, like education and health. So this is a forward-looking, bold budget and looking to the 100 years of our independence. This is what I can say in 1 minute's time.
Yeah, so there is one typical question which has been bothering the bankers very well, and the question is about certain issues which the internationally the problems are being worked up in a different way. You have seen or you have heard, or many bankers know, that Bitcoin is the rage for the past 2 years or so, rather last year also. And in fact, in one of the monetary policies, Reserve Bank of India announced that the Bitcoins would not be permitted in India. That was the position of Reserve Bank of India. But then there was a top level meeting, and the Indian government, in fact, Nirmala ji made a statement that we have to move with the technology that is coming up, and she had stated a couple of months ago that we will have our own cryptocurrency. Now there are several concepts floating around, concept of blockchain, concept of use of technology. But then this time, this is a major shift in the way the digital banking is being done. And possibly the budget is speaking about the Indian cryptocurrency. What is the whole issue about? And there is a comment about the central bank digital currency. CBDC is a concept that they are talking in the budget. I would like you to dwell on this concept maybe for 5 to 10 minutes, because this is a complete new area for all the urban cooperative bankers, and they are not aware as to how to handle this onslaught which is likely to come. And therefore, sir, it will be my request to take your time and explain us so all of us understand what this is about.
This is in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Not only bankers, but even the common man is also curious. I should.
शुरू करेंगे साहब.
ये सवाल तो हर एक के मन में आया है. Not only cooperative bankers or other bankers, but even a common man is curious to know about this. Let me first clarify that the cryptocurrency which is in existence and the central bank digital currency which has been said in this budget, we will have to make a distinction in these two. फर्क क्या है उसमें? पहली बात तो ये है कि जो करेंसी क्रिप्टो करेंसी करके या डिजिटल करेंसी करके, जिसको हम आभासी चलन कह सकते हैं, ये किसने लॉन्च की ये किसको मालूम नहीं है. Nobody is able to find out who is the initiator of this cryptocurrency. आपको समझने के लिए मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि हर एक करेंसी को कुछ ना कुछ रूप रहता है, रंग रहता है, आकार रहता है. लेकिन ये जो डिजिटल करेंसी है, कौन सी भी हो, जो आने वाली आरबीआई की हो या अभी जो चलन में है वो हो, इसको कोई रूप नहीं है, रंग नहीं, आकार नहीं है. दिस इज सिंपली डिजिटल. तो इसका निर्माता मालूम नहीं है. जो आज अस्तित्व में है करेंसी, उसका निर्माता मालूम नहीं है, इसलिए उसके ऊपर किसी का नियंत्रण नहीं है, नियमन नहीं है. कौन से भी देश ने इसको लीगल कहा नहीं है. हर जगह उसमें इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रही है, लेकिन इसको लीगल नहीं है मतलब क्या? इफ एनी प्रॉब्लम अराइजेस in the dealings of this currency which is in existence at present, for the sake of convenience I may say Bitcoin for example. There are 7-8 currencies, but I will call it as Bitcoin, which is a bigger I may say quantity. So this Bitcoin or other types of digital currencies which are in existence, nobody knows who has initiated this. Nobody has any control on this. No government, no central bank of any country. This currency does not have backing of any of the assets. These are the limitations of this currency. Those who are holding these currencies, well, their name does not appear. There is unique number given to the holder, and in the wallet of that number, well, the transactions are made. The currency comes in the wallet, goes from the wallet, but the holder of that wallet is not known. I think once you understand this description of this currency, one can very easily understand the risks involved in this. And now let us again have one more distinction or one more distinguishing feature of it. It is a currency, but in the budget it is called as digital asset. Actually, a currency is for facilitating transactions. And an asset has got some different, I may say, features. So this is floated as currency by somebody. God knows who has floated. But it is being used as an asset nowadays rather than currency. Needless to say that there are some people who are, some companies or people or users who are using it for transactions. But that number is less, that volume is less. So people now advise the investors to invest in this currency because it will appreciate. See, any currency has got some exchange value, like rupee and dollar. There is some exchange rate, which is more or less, it may be paid or it may be, normally it is placed on or pegged all over. But so far as this Bitcoin type digital currency, God knows how the value is decided. It is decided only on the basis of demand and supply in the market. If demand goes up, naturally, well, the price will go up. And hence you will find a lot of fluctuations in the prices of, in the value of this type of an asset. So therefore, this is very, very risky investment. And hence it is claimed, it is argued, it is suspected that the money of smugglers, money of terrorists, black money is invested in this. Even the Security Advisor of India, Mr. M.K. Narayan, has said that I am afraid, he says that I am afraid that terrorist money is invested in Bitcoin. Reserve Bank has, I think, at least 4 or 5 times has issued precautions saying that we are not concerned with this. We don't call it as a legal currency. And those who want to invest, they can invest on their own risk. But in spite of all this, Bitcoin is having a lot of, I may say, volume of transactions in the world. Even in India, we had few years before a worldwide conference in Bangalore on Bitcoins. So this is the status of present digital currency. On this background, let us see what is the digital currency that has been announced in the budget. It is totally different. It is a currency, not an investment. Of course, if I have 1 lakh of rupees notes with me, that is my asset, surely. But I have this more useful for transactions than as an asset. That is the basic thing. Rather, I will invest this currency in some other asset. Which asset will appreciate, which will give me income like that. Keeping notes with me will not give me any income on that as it is. Will not appreciate as it is. So this is basically a difference. So, like for example, 10 rupees coin is there, 10 rupees note is there. Similarly, one more form of currency will be this digital currency. Now it will be of what value, what face value, that is not yet clarified. And because of the wide use and circulation of this present cryptocurrency, well, Reserve Bank has in the last year only prepared a report, and that report was submitted to the Finance Ministry, and on the basis of that report, this decision of issuing a central bank digital currency, which will be official currency supported by and regulated by central bank as well as central government. So this is legal digital currency, and legal means if there is any problem, you can go to the court of law and enforce it.
Sir, I have a sub question on this issue. When we talk of digital currency, you might remember a few years ago, companies like Paytm or Airtel had come out with the concept of wallet, where you used to deposit the amount, and from that wallet you used to make your digital payments. Will it be akin to this kind of wallet? Because wallet was a concept approved by Reserve Bank of India, where I used to keep money in my Paytm wallet, and I used to make payment through that wallet. Not as an asset, but this was the legal structure for wallets that was created a couple of years ago. It's still in existence, but people have lost the interest in that because of a universal payment system, that is GPay or UPI was introduced. The idea of putting money in wallet was lost. Where I have to keep money in my bank, and from there I can make all the transactions. So the digital currency, now going back to that concept of wallet, how, to what extent it will be beneficial? I mean, there are a lot of things which are very hazy in this entire concept.
Yeah, there is a lot of clarification required. It is simply said that we will come out with a digital currency. That is the only statement that Finance Minister has made without giving the details of it. As you have rightly said, if I go to the extreme and say that my bank account is also a wallet, a type of wallet, what else? I deposit my money in the bank account and then from there I make the payments. So keeping money in the bank itself is like having a wallet with me. Similarly, Reserve Bank will come out with currency. How that currency will be circulated among the different people, different transaction persons doing the transactions, well, that will have to be now explained by them. Some system will have to be evolved. But this is a type of currency. That is the only thing which I would like to say in this regard.
So just one more thing which I just want to add up over here. For the first time in the budget, the finance minister used the word of usage of blockchain technology while issuing this type of digital currency. Do you foresee any impact of that technology getting used by the regulator? Because ideally regulator will be using that technology, and right now the bankers are yet to really even look at that kind of a technology, especially when you are talking about urban cooperative bank. So do you foresee an immediate impact or maybe impact in a couple of years wherein the entire banking transaction will get transformed into a blockchain technology, and then in turn the thirst on the regular currency, that is the physical currency, gets reduced and it gets gradually converted into a digital currency? Do you foresee that kind of a scenario?
See, basically the intention of Indian government is to go digitalized, and that they could achieve in last 4-5 years to a considerable extent. People have started using different modes of payments. So anyhow, we are marching towards that. This is one more addition. As Kirwadkar ji has said, कि Google Pay था, UPI थे. There are different platforms on which you can make use of the technology and do the transactions. Now what we should get clarified from the Reserve Bank or Finance Ministry is how this is going to be implemented. There has to be some method, some organizations, some institutions who will circulate this. Otherwise, what is the difference? My salary is credited to my bank account. I don't get notes in my hands, which I used to get few years before. So this is digitization. And this is again a virtual currency. What I got simply an entry in my passbook. Nothing more than that. Earlier I used to get my pocket full when I go to my home. Now that is not possible. But that has not reduced the importance of currency. Use of currency, hard currency, has come down. But the use of currency is there in some different form. Similarly, this will be a currency which is virtual, of which we are now accustomed to. When I buy shares, when I buy units in the mutual fund, what do I get? Earlier I used to get a certificate that these are the shares of SEC Limited, so many shares. Now I get merely one entry, my DP holding, nothing more than that. So this is, now we have accepted, and we don't have any feeling of risk in that. Earlier it was there.
Yeah.
Now it is not there. And when it is said that this currency is backed by Reserve Bank of India, is backed by Government of India, I think there will not be any hitch in the minds of the holders of that currency. Now the question is, this will help reduce the printing of notes probably, the cost of it, and the risk involved of having fake currency.
Right.
That is going to be a great advantage of this. So mindset has been changed from currency to digital form. Now how these transactions will be facilitated, that we have to see. And effect of that will be, I think, similar on everybody. It will not be different for urban cooperative banks as compared to other banks.
Right.
It will be same for the banks.
Just one last question about the same point to take it further. in the budget, it is also announced that for virtual assets, actually, it's not only, as you rightly said, it's more of assets and not really of currency. There will be a taxation at the rate of 30%, and which will be purely on the basis of cost and selling price. That is the difference between that. No expense will be attached to that. So that point is made clear. Now, since it is introduced in the current year's budget, does it really mean that earlier, whenever the gains were really getting accounted for, because earlier also the bitcoins and other virtual assets were there. So this is a time when it has been categorically charged at a particular specified rate. So as a corollary of that, does it mean that either earlier it was not taxable or it was taxable in a different manner or in a different percentage? That is one. Secondly, again, just to link it with the bank, not really from taxation point of view, once we call it as an asset, it might become a kind of a treasury product for that bank, or for that matter any bank. So it might get looked into a different angle, distinguishing between again virtual currency and virtual asset, because then again there will be a separate distinctive factor. So just these two questions, if you can elaborate, that will be of great help.
As I said earlier, presently there is no name of the account holder or the asset holder, we may say. And if you don't know who is the holder of the asset and how much is held by him, there is no question of taxing it.
Yeah.
It was very difficult on the part of even the government, keep aside taxation department as a small part of government, to find out who is holding this asset. Those who have invested by using their recorded money,
Right.
well, for them you can identify that this fellow has bought so much because he must have declared it.
Correct.
That must have come into his books of accounts. But keeping aside such small investors in number as well as in volume, well, others were investing out of which funds that nobody knows.
Right.
That was therefore difficult to tax. Those who have invested through their recorded money, well, for their investment, that must be appearing in the balance sheet and that must be shown in the balance sheet and income tax returns wherever required. I do not exactly know whether they were showing profit on that. Because again, when they say I have sold, in what form they might have got the consideration, number one. Number two, whether that full amount of consideration was received by white money or some other way.
So in kind or in monetary terms.
We don't know that.
Yeah, right.
So it was difficult.
Yeah.
And this is going to be difficult in present tax structure also.
Right.
Unless their names are known,
Yeah.
you cannot do anything. But only thing now that they have done is 1% TDS.
Yeah.
So if somebody shows that I have sold this and I have earned profit, then 1% TDS will have to be deducted and paid. That is going to create some sort of facility to point out who is the holder of it.
So that 1% TDS is correct, but that applies only to the person who is managing that show. So right now, that's where the gray area is, that who has issued bitcoins is not known. So if someone is purchasing bitcoins, there is no one to deduct the tax and pay to the government. So it's only when legitimate issuers, like say Reserve Bank of India, if it issues a digital currency, or someone else, like parallel agencies which are permitted, then only really the TDS provision might be implemented. As of now, even if someone purchases bitcoins through their legal money or white money, I should say, there is no question of TDS, because the TDS will be always has to be deducted by the other person.
Hence I said it is very difficult to identify who is the holder of it, who has earned profit in this, how much profit is earned.
Yeah.
Because I can say that whatever cost is there, whatever cost I have shown in my books,
Right.
I can anytime show that I have sold this at that cost only,
Yeah.
and rest of the amount I can take in kind.
Right.
So it is very difficult.
Yeah.
But the provision has come,
Yeah.
and something may be in their mind.
Yeah.
If at all, suppose what I can imagine.
Yeah.
If suppose in case of a raid, survey, search, whatever, if you get some trace of such transactions, and if you can then find out that so much of profit is earned, then probably you may be able to tax it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would have gone untaxed.
Correct.
If you get some I may say, जिसको हम हिंदी में नोंदी कहते हैं,
Yeah.
if you find out some writing,
Correct.
some scribbling,
Right.
कि भाई इतना इतना दिया और इतना इतना बिटकॉइन लिया
Right.
और इतना बेचा और इतने में बेचा, ऐसा if they could get some clue
Access to that account.
and if he accepts that, the assessee accepts that,
Yeah.
then otherwise there was no taxing provision.
Correct.
Now this taxing provision has come,
Okay.
so at least they can tax it. And the assessee will not be able to
So
claim
it's
any
more of,
expenditure.
so it's more of enabling
Enabling.
condition.
सर मज़ा आ रहा है. We'll continue this discussion on next Sunday also. This is really enriching in every aspect as well as every respect. Thank you for watching. Please do join us on next Sunday on the continuation of this talk on the budget with Dr. Vinayakji Govilkar. Thank you so much.